Oh, yeah. Hey traders, how are y'all doing? Are you doing good? Um, let's chat about trading. A little bit impromptu, but not unplanned, as there's a couple topics that I wanted to talk about today. And whether you watch this or not, it doesn't really matter to me. I'm doing this for my own, for myself, really. My diary, my journal. Although I hope you find it useful. First of all, okay, I'm gonna do a couple things in this video. I'm just gonna sort of, I'm gonna cover a couple different topics. The first one is the three pillars of a profitable trading system. You need a strong technical system. You need rigid rules and habits, including scheduling for the trader, and you need the third one is you need a good psychology. And one of the thoughts I had is that a strong technical system is the easiest one of these to do, and having the habits is the hardest thing to do. Psychology, oftentimes, if you have good habits, will just follow the habits and follow the results, but needs work too, because poor psychology can cause a lot of problems. Now, I say having a strong technical system is the simplest for a couple reasons. It is necessary to have a strong technical system, right? If you don't have a system with edge, then you aren't going to make money in the market. And to have a system with edge, in theory, you need to be an expert in the market, but in reality, no. Like, you can be taught a system, you can learn a system, you could pay $100 to certain traders and learn systems that actually do work, like $250, $300. There's all kinds of trainings. I've seen a lot of profitable systems out there where you don't need to be an expert, because while you're competing in a very narrow niche, right? And if someone's done the work for you of eliminating everything that's irrelevant or doesn't work and says, hey, in this narrow niche, this works, this is exactly what you do, you can learn that fairly quickly. If you're starting from scratch and you're going through the market and you're observing the market by yourself, it can take a long time to get there. And it can take a long time to get there even with these systems as you try to implement the systems and play with them, see if you can improve it for your lifestyle or your schedule, see what makes sense to you, try different indicators, see which of these systems actually works. But at the end of the day, you can be given a profitable system. You cannot be given profitable habits. Profitable habits are very difficult to build and are the most important thing, because having rules that you can live by, like being able to trust your system is one thing, being able to trust yourself is another thing. Being able to trust yourself that you're not going to over risk and blow up your account. And it's okay to take on big risk. Like, it's more reasonable to risk 1% to 2% per position, but like, you could risk 5%, you could risk 10%, depending on your system. It might actually be okay. I'm not necessarily saying that, but if you're in the habit of going all in, okay, you're gonna blow up. Or if you're in the habit of all kinds of things, in the habit of just like advancing your stop to the worst place, or removing your stop loss so you take huge losses, or if you're in the habit of taking a bunch of trades, bad trades, unplanned trades, or you're in the habit of not taking profit when your system says take profit. No one can make you follow your habits, right? You can be taught a system, but you have to develop these habits, right? Someone can tell you, hey, smoking is bad for you, but they can't make you stop smoking. You have to make you stop smoking. And for anyone who's ever quit a vice, and I know that everyone who's listening to this video has vices. If you've ever quit a vice, you know how hard it is. If you have a vice that you're still doing that you wish you didn't do, you know how hard it is. it is hard to quit vices. And trading is full of behaviors that are vices. I want to stare at the charts. I want to trade after hours. I want to trade assets I'm not supposed to trade. I want to take setups I'm not supposed to trade. No. So while you can be given a system and learn a system that works, habits take a long time to change. Typically, the minimum to really solidify a difficult, sticky habit is a couple months, but it might be many months, it might be years. And that's a reason why trading is so difficult and it takes traders so long. And one of the things about developing habits is that typically it takes extreme pain and trauma to change. And not in all cases, but in most cases, it does take extreme pain and trauma to change. For example, I used to do a summer camp for disabled kids or who had physical disabilities. There was a couple brothers who could not feel pain like normal people. And as a result of not being able to feel pain, they weren't able to get feedback on what they shouldn't do. And they basically break danced all their fingers, toes, and legs away, if you can imagine. Like lepers just bumping into things. You have to experience pain to learn what to do. And in trading, that pain is psychological pain, it's pain of loss, it is anxiety, it is losing streaks, it is drawdowns. I'm sorry, but it's necessary. It is necessary. It's especially because some things you can learn without having to know exactly. Where it's like, might not need to get hit by a car to learn to avoid getting hit by a car. But a lot of trading behaviors, it's not obvious why they're harmful. It's not obvious that advancing your stop too early is harmful. It feels good. It's not obvious that checking the charts all the time after hours is harmful to you, right? It's not obvious. It takes real low points and pain to initiate the process of changing. Not to change, but to initiate the process of changing. And then it takes a long time to change on top of that. So it's very difficult. It's very difficult to develop and keep profitable habits as you learn your technical system, as you trade and do not blow up. But the good news is, once you have your habits set, it's hard to change those habits. You become rigid. So as you develop these habits, you go through drawdown, you go through pain, you develop your trading habits, it's easy to keep those habits. But yeah, I mean, and I'll just share a little more about my experience here in developing these habits. I have a lot of different books on habits. I have a lot of experience changing habits and helping other people change habits. And yeah, it's not necessarily what you think. Like it takes a while. It takes journaling to identify. It took me a while to even identify what some of the bad habits were, and then to change these habits it took a while to figure out how to do it. So like, one of the bad habits is advancing my stop too early. Okay, and just getting choked out of winners. There's many bad habits. Adding on too aggressively. Taking bad trades, jumping the gun, bad signals, whatever it is. And I found that so much of this had to do with price watching after 2 p.m. So, okay, from my data. And it's causing me extreme pain because now my whole freedom, my lifestyle is in jeopardy. I'm going to lose what I'm working towards, right? You can pit in my stomach type of all day type of situation, right? Okay. How do I guard against that? Well, like the extreme is getting a timed lock and a lockbox, and after 2 p.m. throwing my computer and phone in there, and that's it. I cannot fuck with my positions until the next day. I have a little more tame version of that, but that's basically what I'm doing. Computer goes in a tub under the bed. It shuts off automatically 10 minutes after the daily candle on crypto. My phone gives me a reminder, and it's seared into my brain through pain. And now Now, and this is a solution to psychological problems, which we're going to get to next, where, say, for instance, I had a long at $16,000 on Bitcoin for 50 Bitcoin. It was an $800,000 position. And say I was still holding that, or say I had held it at all. But on December 31, I was experiencing anxiety in the evening, watching price as fireworks are going off. And I went and I closed my position and I went to bed. And I'm not supposed to do that. And I could say, well, the psychology of too much size, I wasn't ready for it. The fireworks, need to handle stress better. Well, if I had this rule back then of my phone, my computer being locked away in the evening, I would have been forced to keep that position open, and it would have started to run into my favor for a huge winner. So it's not a psychological issue, it's a habitual issue. And that habit was not obvious what the problem was, and required missing that trade and missing many other trades to develop the habits. Like, habits are psychological scars in a sense. You have to lose, you have to take a beating in order to develop these habits and have them become rigid. And this is true across almost all traders' stories. You have to put your hand into the fireplace. It doesn't mean trading with, try to lose as little money as possible, but you will lose money. Like, I don't think there's any traders who go straight profitable, no drawdown from the beginning. Maybe there's probably someone out there who knows. Everyone goes through a drawdown. Drawdowns are part of trading, and drawdowns are how you experience the pain necessary to initiate change. So the next pillar is psychology. And psychology, I think, is actually the least important, because if you have a really strong system and if you have a really solid habits, then it doesn't matter that much what you think about things, but it definitely helps, and it makes the experience a lot more pleasant and not stressful. So if we break psychology, I think like the key to good psychology, or the beliefs, the most valuable beliefs are, one, trusting your technical system. If you have the psychology of trusting your technical system, it's going to make it much easier to follow your rules, and it's going to make it much easier to, in terms of when to take entries and when to take exits. But what does that psychology come from of trusting your system? It comes from backtesting. It's real confidence, right? It comes from knowing the system's good, from paper trading, from having some experience of it succeeding. And it also comes from having pain from deviating from that system, right? You deviate from the system, you lose money, you go into drawdown, right? The second most important thing, in my opinion, of psychology is having 100% trust in yourself to follow your rules that you set out for yourself. If you cannot trust yourself, then it's hard. Like, are you going to gamble today? Are you going to risk everything today? What's going to happen? But if you trust yourself to follow not just your technical system, but the rules that you lay out for yourself, which include the habit part of having a trading schedule, trading within these hours and not within these hours. If you trust your system and you trust yourself, your life's going to be easy and it's not going to be very stressful. But other beliefs that are useful are, I'm a consistently profitable trader. And in my belief, or my idea for how to cultivate this psychology, part of it's through the pain and part of it's through the confidence from doing the back testing and going through and having these experiences to draw on. But what also helps cultivate it is doing daily affirmations, writing them down and speaking them out loud. I'm a consistently profitable trader. I trust my system 100% to have consistent edge over any 20 trade sample. I trust myself 100% to follow my system well over any 20 trade sample. Other beliefs that are useful are that I can make a huge amount of money in a very small amount of time. In fact, it's better to not watch the charts all the time. It's better to work an hour a day in my prime and let the rest go. I don't need to catch every minor move. That's really helpful, is that I'm okay conceding certain things with my strategy. I like what I get, right? I'm okay giving up these minor moves. I like getting these bigger moves. That's what I get, right? And I believe it's possible to make a ridiculous amount of money in a short period of time. That's helpful because that saves you from doing all the over trading and the micromanaging. I believe that less is more. I believe that less is more. I believe that trading doesn't need to be anxious. It doesn't need to be stressful. It doesn't need to take a huge amount of time necessarily. It can be done in a short amount of time. So, psychology and habits and mechanical system, all three of those things are hugely important. Mechanical system is the easiest one because it's the only one that can be given to you. Psychology is not even necessarily necessary if you have the other things down. Habits is the most important thing, and it's the hardest thing. Well, I wouldn't say it's the most important thing because technical system is probably equally important, but habits are as important as having a technical system, but much harder, require a lot more work to develop because it cannot be given to you, and everyone knows how hard it is to change. So I'm getting to a point where I have the three pillars. And honestly, if I look back last year, like, I had none of them. I had obviously periods of profitability, but even during them, like, my habits were loose. My system was okay. It had some edge, but it was lacking. When the market changed, I wasn't ready. The system wasn't ready. And my psychology was pretty good. And yeah, in the early months of this year, tried updating my system and tried a number of things. Didn't work great. Didn't really follow structured rules that well, and my psychology was poor. But through that pain and drawdown, I took the time to build a really solid, robust strategy. I got a great understanding of price action that's pretty mechanical, black or white, that can be implemented in a very short amount of time a day. I have the good habits, and I have the psychology. And another part of psychology, another thing that's really helpful, a couple thoughts. One is the belief that every trading error and missed opportunity in the past is necessary to get your system to where it is today. That's really important because it's too easy to just be like, I should have held that, I should have done. Well, how would you have known? Like, I burnt my hand on purpose, or I had to burn my hand to be here. Like, I don't regret any of these losses. It'd be nice if I had more money. Oh well, I'll make it back later. But I had to take those losses in order to get my system and my habits to where they are today. It was necessary. What else? And then also a belief that when you follow your system and when your system tells you to take a signal and you take a loss, it's not normal and nothing to stress about, and just the cost of doing business and not a big deal. It's like sometimes you have expenses trading, unplanned expenses, but they're budgeted for in the system. So sometimes you're going to lose a trade or a round of trades, and it's not a big deal because you're taking 20 trades a month or however, whatever your period is, and you'll be profitable over that period. So those are my thoughts. Yeah, and I think about the issue I had of like struggling to handle more risk and add on more risk, and thinking it was a psychological problem, but more than anything, it was a habitual problem where I had bad habits when there was greater risk involved, and just by forcing myself offline prevents those bad habits from playing out and forces me to take those trades like every other trade. I don't know that I won't have I expect to have more drawdown. I expect to have more losers, but getting all these three pillars locked in is a good feeling. So appreciate you, much love, and I look forward to talking to you soon. See you. Peace.